150 here on Glacier TV. We're Vincent in the booth here tonight. 60 laps of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the StarMazdas for what is going to be one of the craziest races you have ever seen. If you think free wide at Indy is impossible, think again. This will probably be the norm here today. We're on for your qualifying good in about a minute and a half. Qualifying still going on. A couple of cars on track. Dave Jinks and Paul Nelson doing qualifying laps, as are Jean-Marc Bruni and Blair Stevenson. But first, want to get straight to our pre-race interview of our in-race reporter, Mr. David Ward, the pink car. Hello once again.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm not too bad. How did the qualifying going here today?
At the moment, I'm qualified 10th, so we're 3/10ths behind Paquin, who's on the front row at the moment. But all that could change. I doubt it, though, in the next 50 seconds. This is going to be such an interesting race. I'm expecting at least 5 wide at some point.
So, you're 10th here today. Tomorrow, you're 3rd for the ISOWC Indianapolis 500. Seems like you got a kind of grip on this track.
Yeah, it's turning left, isn't it?
And I say we'll be talking to you over the course of the race here today. David Ward currently in the 10th position. We'll catch up with him at some point later on. And of course, we did have some sad news this previous week, and we'd like to take a moment just to remember the life of Professor Sid Watkins and also Conor McRae. Conor McRae died to the day 5 years ago, and of course, Professor Sid Watkins, we lost him this previous week. So we're just going to step aside for a moment and take a moment to remember these two extraordinary gentlemen. So you see the grid beginning to form here for the ISOWC Unity 150. John Paquin, surprisingly enough, is on pole position with a qualifying time of 55.502 in what will be a rather emotional week for him, running his last ever IndyCar race tomorrow in the ISOWC Indianapolis 500. Lewis Goodway only half a tenth of a second behind in second position, with Bart E. Linton in third. Dave Jinks on the outside of row number 2. Ryan Norton and Paul Nelson line up in row number 3, with Paul Jenkins and Terry Mattinson in row number 4. It is Brad Sanford and David Ward, the teammates, in row number 5, with Michael Brewer and Jean-Marc Bruni in row number 6. Philippe Lambert and Jordan Boulier in row number 7, with Thomas Moustakis and Alan Wilson rounding out row number 8. David Ratcliffe and Dennis Garris in row number 9, with Rene Murray and Vince Harley in row number 10. Isram Balau in 11th and Mart Kennelly in the row number 11. Sorry, in row number 11, that's correct. And then Blair Simpson in the 23rd position. Non-qualifiers, a number of them, we'll see how many of those take the grid here today. But a number of drivers here doing double duty as well. The likes of Paquin, Jinks, Norton, Jenkins, Mattinson, Sanford, Ward, Lambert, Garris, Ballau, all doing double duty, taking part tomorrow in the ISOWC Indianapolis 500. So a lot of time behind the wheel for a couple of these drivers here today. The pace car is going to take off in about 15 seconds time. We'll do 1 lap around the racetrack. We're going 2 wide for that, and then we'll be set loose for 60 laps around this beautiful 2.5 mile speedway, and you can just see the rows of 2 forming up all the way back, and this is really going to be one to watch. You can see there the pace car now about to make that journey around the racetrack. John Paquin on the inside of row number 1 in that number 71 main performance PC machine. He has got Lewis Goodway to his right in the number 74 car. And one thing we can say about this race here today, these StarMazdas, they don't like going too wide, they don't like going 3 wide. They can go 4, 5, 6 wide at this track. We've seen it before, but the key is going to be what you often see in pack racing at other tracks, places like Michigan, Chicagoland. You really have got to be careful with your lines into the corner. Down on the bottom, yeah, it's still flat all the way around, but especially about 2/3 run into the run, you expect some drivers starting to push up a little bit. They're going to have to get out of the throttle, and that means the middle line could, towards the end of the race, be the place where you want to be. the outside line is so far longer around the racetrack, it often doesn't work as well. So drivers might need to bear that in mind, but expect that middle lane to be the hidden horse here today, as the cars coming down the back straightaway on their pace lap. And don't forget, of course, the ISOWC Unity 150 and the ISOWC Indianapolis 500 are both benefiting the Lance Armstrong Foundation. For more information, of course, go to livestrong.org. And say both these races supporting that great organisation. In fact, I had the chance to have dinner with the treasurer of Livestrong yesterday, Mike Swinton, and I had to say, a great man, a great cause, a great organisation. Meanwhile, John Paquin in the left-hand side of your screen there. Pace car, lights off, going to go racing in less than 30 seconds time for 60 laps around here. Time's going to be somewhere around the 54-second mark in the draft. These drivers gain an entire second when they have got, you know, some of that air behind them so they can slipstream up and make the pass. Expect a lot of passing, expect a lot of craziness, expect a lot of pretty much everything as the pace car is making that turn down towards pit road. And as he does so, John Paquin is sat there, waiting, ready to go. And as he does so, the ISO WC Unity 150 is green. Ready, you see the cars going 2-3 wide back to the pack for the moment. Mercifully, everyone pretty much clean as they come down into turn number 1 for the first time. Paquin's got the lead, and you see there, Dave Jinks is trying to make a move, I believe, but Ian Linton managed to get the jump on the start over Goodway, so they moved him up into the second position. But Jinks also trying to gain a bit of time early on, and these drivers need to keep some form of momentum down this 7/8 mile back straightaway, coming down into turn number 3, because they do not want to lose the draft early on. You see there, change of the position, 2 wide racing already, as it's all going on. Paquin on the outside line. Lewis Goodway looking to try and take the lead as they come down into turn number 4. Goodway also close there, 2 wide, 2-3 deep as they come out of turn number 4. Paquin's just going to get the run out of the line, and he's currently being pushed by Barty Linton in the number 6 machine. So Paquin leads lap number 1 himself, and Bart Linton do clear themselves into turn number 1. But you see there, Goodway still on the attack on the inside line. He's got himself Dave Jinks on the outside. And a little bit further back, you see Ryan Norton starting to come into play, as is Paul Nelson and Paul Jenkins. These top 7 drivers really have started to pull away a little bit, but it is still Paquin being pushed all the way around the racetrack for the time being by Bart Linton, as they're going to try and get themselves some separation early on. They need about 1.2 seconds if they're going to be able to start pulling clear, but for the moment they haven't quite got that. And Paquin out front, but he is still prone to attack here. They're going to come out of turn number 4 to put their second lap in the books. Here's Paquin from Goodway, from Linton. Sorry, there's Paquin from Linton even. Goodway in 3rd, Jinks in 4th, Ryan Norton in 5th. You see there, 2 wide for position. Norton on the outside. He is going to move himself all the way up. No, he doesn't. He just runs out of air there as he comes down into 1. And Norton is just going to have to settle into that 5th position for the time being. Norton, in fact, now does clear Goodway as they come through turn number 2, so move Norton up into the 4th position. But you see there, he's slow, and caution is out for the first time here at the Speedway. We're under our first caution of the day. We'll try and get an update on who that was. It looks like it was towards the middle to rear of the field. And it was, in fact, 2 cars towards the rear. It was Vince Harley, who was down in the 19th position, and Robert Curry. So that is our first caution of the day here at the Speedway, and we are under caution. So Paquin bringing the field back under the command of the pace car. Pace car currently coming onto the track. He is down, I believe, on the back straightaway. So Paquin is just going to slow that speed down, you see, on the coming through turn number 2 at the moment. And I'd just like to bring in our resident tech expert, Yoni Backroom, for the time being. Yoni, these cars with not that much downforce, it is going to be so difficult to pull away in this race. And we've seen already, you suck up behind another driver and you've got yourself, you know, 6, 7, 8 miles an hour faster speed than the car, you know, that's ahead of you.
Very true, and Yeah, like I said, 3, 4, 5 wides with these cars. Not very familiar sight with NASCARs, Impalas, and Indy cars, which we've used to see running around this racetrack. So looking forward to this one as we see the replay of which caused the first caution of the day. Just a slight selfish spin from Vince Harley there, but no harm done to anyone else.
Yeah, so we're under our first caution of the day. These drivers don't really expect them to pit, especially towards the front of the field for tyres. Perhaps towards the rear, they might take the gamble, try and get some fresh tyres, but the tyre wear here isn't that much that you really are going to need fresh rubber. You see a couple of drivers dummying in, but it doesn't look as though anyone is going to commit towards pit road, at least in the top 15 drivers. And in fact, all the way back, we've only got 2 takers down toward pit road, and I believe that is Robert Curry in the 98 car and Blair Stevenson in the number 39. Everyone else stays out on the racetrack, and yet bring you back in, those first couple of laps, it did look as though it was the outside line that was working. And I talked about at the start of this broadcast how, towards the end of the run that might be more proficient, but Linton and Paquin did a good job there, being able to hold, that middle and outside of the racetrack there.
Yeah, and those two at the front and the outside and the middle line seem to be holding the draft in place and intact, which the cars on the lower side didn't. The cars on the lower side were just trying to duke it out a little bit more than the guys on the outside, and it shows in the straight line speeds.
So just wait. Word on the pace car as to when it is coming in. We believe that's going to be in about a lap and a half time. We'll run through your top 10 momentarily. It is John Paquin out front, having led every lap of the race so far here today. Bart Linton is in the second position. Dave Jinks is in third. Lewis Goodaway, who started in the second position, move him down into the fourth position. Ryan Norton is currently sat in the fifth position where he started. Paul Nelson in sixth, Paul Jenkins in seventh, Terry Mattinson in eighth, Brad Sanford in ninth, and David Ward in 10th. They have not changed at all. When you have a look a little bit further down the field, there have been drivers moving up and down all over the place, as we have got Tom Mustakas, who is now out of the race. Tom Mustakas, you say, he qualified in the 15th position. So we'll look to see if there is anything particularly wrong with that car here. We'll just have a look. And indeed, no, it doesn't. It just looks as though he just pulled it to the side of the road and said that his day was done. So we'll keep an eye on the pace car as he comes past the yard of bricks here in the... Don't forget, the ISOWC Indianapolis 500 takes place tomorrow. Coverage starts at 4 p.m. here, GMT on Glacier TV, 4 p.m. GMT. Of course, that is noon Eastern. Enhanced coverage of live timing and scoring is available at isowc.org/live. Broadcast brought to you by Glacier TV, benefiting the Lance Armstrong Foundation. The lights are off on the pace car. We'll be going green next time by, and we have put ourselves 5 laps in the book so far. And guys, we haven't even started going yet.
Yeah, it usually seems to be the trademark of any oval, fast-speed ovals that it's always the first 1/3 of the race distance where the drivers just trying to get into proper racing rhythm and trying to spot a place or find a drafting partner to play with, and seem to be causing pretty much in a traditional way 2 or 3 yellow flag periods in the early stages of the race. But once that sorts itself out, we have seen all the way in the Brickyard 400, in the Coke 600, and once the initial wrecking is done, you can expect even the green flag pit stops happening in bigger classes. So I have no doubt that that can be the case right here as well.
And very quickly, we're going to bring Dave Jenkins into the booth. Dave, you currently sat third in the race so far, and that was a rather crazy first couple of laps. How do you expect it to carry on from here?
Well, I'm hoping that being near the front will help keep me out of some of that craziness.
And it's a plan to just, stick behind Payton and Linton, that, you know, try and get some separation and then duke it out?
More or less, as long as, unless they make a mistake.
10-4, we'll let you get back to your teammates and we'll try and talk to you later on in this race and say the pace car once again is going to make that turn down towards the pit road. It is John Paquin in the number 71 machine. We're bringing the field back to the green flag here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with Bart E. Linton in second, Dave Jinks in third, Lewis Goodway in fourth, Ryan Norton in fifth. The green flag's back in the air and we're racing once again here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Start by all the top three drivers, a little bit more separation as they come down into turn number one for the first time. Looks as though all the top 10 at least are okay. Jenkins in the second position is going to have to get something on Mario though, because he's about 4 tenths of a second behind Paul Nelson in the number 33 car, and he's going to want to get that draft back, because as soon as you get about 5-6 tenths of a second behind, you really have to work to try and close up to the car in front of you, and they're going to be very, very careful in these starts and restarts that they don't lose too much down early on, because it's going to be impossible to try and gain it back early on. Looking out front, you see that Linton and Paquin, they are trying to drive away out front. You've got yourself the second pack being headed by Dave Jinks, but Jinks has got himself a huge head of steam as he comes down the front straight away there. You see he's starting to close that gap back on Linton there, who's trying to push Paquin down. You see a little bit of almost bump drafting done with these StarMazdas here. The number 74 car, Lewis Goodway, right up on the rear of Dave Jinks. They bring it down into turn number one, but Jinks is flying at the moment in that number 76 machine. Close the gap now to just 2.5 car lengths down to Barty Linton. He's in second position, who in turn is right on the rear wing of John Paquin in the number 71 machine.
Yeah, Dave Jinks' last lap was 55.81 against the leaders 56.5, 56.1. So good 3 to 4 tenths a lap faster than the top two was Dave Jinks last time around.
And you see that Jinks is now right onto the rear wing of Bart Linton. Will he try and make the pass, or will he just stick in line? It looks like he's looking down to the inside as they come down the front straight away. Will he try and take second position away and be the driver to line up behind the race leader? Paquin's led every lap so far. He's still leading with the number 71 machine, but the top three drivers are separated by less than 2 tenths of a second. And look out, boys, there's going to be too wide. Lewis Goodway under attack there from Ryan Norton, the number 26 machine. Norton down to the inside, and he's going to try and complete the pass coming down the back straight away. But you see there, all of the cars moving out to the outside wall, and that's going to hurt Norton in that number 26 car, because he simply had no help there, and that has allowed Goodway to really close back up there. And now Norton through the corners is going to have to hope that a couple of these cars stay a little bit low. You see Jinks coming down to help his teammate as they go through turn number 4, and indeed now Norton is going to clear Goodway and move him up into the 4th position, move Goodway down into the 5th spot.
And meanwhile, the 6-car leading pack has managed to pull out the 2.8 second gap between themselves and the P7 car of Terry Mattinson. So the top 6 are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. If it stays green, just cooperate just enough to get a good bit of distance to the rest of the pack, so you have a good chance to duke it out later on in the race once you're comfortably escape the main pack. But the pack behind them is not giving up. They're still 54 ninths through that the following pack. So if these guys start to do anything crazy, it doesn't take much for these guys in the back to catch back up.
You say that, but 54.9 for those drivers, 54.291 for John Paquin, 54.295 for Barty Linton. These two guys almost like they got themselves a piece of string attached to their race car. They're just working together in absolute harmony. Terry Mattinson is leading the second pack. His last lap was a 54.890. He is a full 7 tenths of a lap slower than the guys out front. Mattinson, Sanford, Ward, Brewer, Jenkins, Lambert, they are all separated by less than 4 tenths of a second. On the racetrack, you see a car that goes way down below the white line. That is Michael Brewer trying to use as much of that inside curve as possible there. But you see now Paul Nelson is trying to make a move on Ryan Norton. He's being passed back by Lewis Goodway as he's trying to go to the inside, forcing his way down to the inside of Dave Jinks. They go to turn number 3. and Goodway is on the charge, and that was so close, literally inches apart their wheels there as they went into turn number 3. Goodway forced his way through, but once again, that outside line with Dave Jinks, they're going to have the advantage due to the fact that the leaders are bringing the car all the way to the wall on the straightaways. You see that Goodway having to drop back in now, and he's going to have to try and set up the move once again through turn number 2, or as you see there, him coming into the high side, will he try that next time by? As you see there, Linton just disconnecting there from the rear of John Payton, perhaps now he's trying to find a way to get past, and Goodway all the way to the wall, going down the outside. This is what I was talking about, and this will give Goodway 3rd position. His next step, he's going to try and move down to the inside of Bar E. Linton from the battle for the 2nd position. Having a look back to that second pack momentarily, it is from Terry McTinson all the way back now to Jordan Villiers in the number 11 car, sat in the 14th position. Our 3rd pack has got Rene Murray, David Ratcliffe, Alan Wilson, Dennis Garius, Matt Kennelly, Blair Simpson on it, and then you've got Robert Curry running all by himself at the moment. He is 22nd behind the lead lap, and then Fred Turley way off the pace.
P2 change.
And Barty Linton is on the outside though. Will he get the draft from Payton as they come out of turn number 2? I'll tell you what, Goodway's got a great run, but Linton had the draft there. That has not kept him in the 2nd position. And Payton now, they've got themselves a little bit of lap traffic. I was just bringing myself to that. Fred Turney in the number 23 machine is only about 4 seconds from going a lap down here. So he's going to have to be very careful, because once you go down a lap at this place, it's going to be very hard to try and get yourself back into contention. Paquin coming through the final corner to put his 13th lap in the book. Linton right behind him. I tell you what, Dave Jinks is back on the attack, and he should get back to that 3rd position if they go down into turn number 1. And you see there Turney looking as though he's going to try and find a way of letting all these drivers go past, but Paquin's still leading, and Yoli, Linton and Paquin just lead the class of the field so far here today.
Yeah, very smart strategy from these two in the early stage, working together and just trying to desperately pull that enough gap to break the draft. And I'm pretty sure once they are able to, or if they're able to, break the draft to the P3 and downwards, I'm pretty sure they're gonna just right into the horizon with that teamwork, because
caution is out. So we'll take that back.
For that strategy.
Yeah, and that is good for Turley, because he has managed to keep himself on the lead lap there. We'll go back and figure out who brought out that pace car.
Teams Alan Wilson and Rene Murray.
Alan Wilson and Rene Murray, both long-term drivers in the ISOWC, and it looked as though Murray just had a huge impact there. They're going too wide through turn number 4. We'll have to get a check-up on Murray there, but it looks as though Wilson just came up on Murray. He just went into a once, twice, 3 times, and then you just saw just how far he got flipped up into the air. And sorry, I'll take that back. It was David Ratcliffe that caused the initial contact. 2 was literally bumping wheels in a straight line, and Murray just caught the wall twice, and the 3rd time it was a secondary impact with Alan Wilson. I think he was trying to check up behind them, so I take that back. It was Matt Kennelly, and it just looked as though everything just formed itself together at the same time. Wilson and Stevenson came together. Stevenson, he just drove down the pit road. His day is done. Murray's into the wall, Wilson's into the wall, and Kennelly's into the wall. Now, out of all of those drivers, perhaps Kennelly's the one who might just be able to salvage some repairs from that race car, but all of the other drivers, I mean, Yoni, that was a horrible crash there for Rene Murray.
Yeah, looking at a slow motion, the guy on the near the wall just made the initial mistake, and he also made probably the height record of explosion there, visiting the probably the new Bird model on this racetrack. But yeah, as you saw in the chopper cam replay, all it took was inch mistake, slight touch to the tires of the guy in front, right beside you, and that's all it takes for a 6-car drafting pack to turn into 6-car pileup.
And for a bit of a humorous side, I think that was an 8.9 for effort, a 9.2 for execution, and a 9.8 for landing. He landed pretty much in his pit stall, just facing the wrong way around.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a new hill record.
So we'll reset the field with 15 laps to scored complete out of 60 here in the ISOWC Unity 150. John Paquin is still your race leader. Barty Linton in second. Dave Jinks in third. Ryan Norton in fourth. Paul Nelson in the fifth spot. It has been madness since the drop of the green flag here today. One driver who has pulled back is Paul Jenkins in the number 19 machine. Now, we talked about how he qualified in the 7th position. He was there for the first stint. Looks like he's lost himself about 4 positions at the moment, and he's fallen back down now into the 11th position. But in this race, we've seen this already. You don't want to go too hard too early, but at the same time, you can't lose the draft, because without the draft, you really have nothing here.
Yeah, it's a very marginal racing type. It's just sort of, well, in fact, I think it's pretty much identical to like trucks or Impala at Talladega or Daytona, where naturally these cars can't bump draft each other, but the drafting plays a huge factor, because alone you're pretty much nothing, and with the draft you're super fast. So yeah, you, like you said, you can't back off too much, but at the same time, at the early stages, it's pretty silly or even stupid to take unnecessary risks, which causes you gives you a probability of DNF. But yeah, it's a very marginal thing whether to how much to back off, where to back off, so that you don't lose that draft, because once you lose the draft, it's game over.
So we have pretty much going to be putting 16 laps in the books. They come past start finish line. We'll be keeping an eye on the iRacing.com pace car as he comes past that yard of bricks once again. And I mean, we've had a couple of close calls here today, so you know, in some ways we've been lucky, but what we really need to keep an eye on those last couple of laps. We don't want this race ending under caution, because if we do, we'll probably be robbing ourselves of a rather spectacular finish as the lights go off on the pace car. So we're going to go green next time by. We're going to try and get a quick word with Paul Jenkins from the number 19 machine, who sat in the 10th position. And Paul, looks so that second run didn't work out as well for you. I mean, you qualified in 7th, you were 7th for the first run. What caused you to drop back a little bit?
Well, quite honestly, we got caught napping on the start. You know, these cars are not exactly jump off the line, so half a second's going to kill you, and that's what happened. I just got beat.
And you say half a second's going to kill you. Just how vital is it to time those restarts perfectly? Not to gain positions, but to just stay in the hunt with the lead pack.
I say it's critical, Will. It's absolutely critical, and you just saw the result of what happens if you don't.
And we're approaching 1/3 distance in this race. I mean, the front 2 packs themselves have tried to settle down. You saw the second pack, you know, trying to work their way back into contention. But as we get into the second half of this race, is it going to get crazy at some point soon?
Now, I imagine after about lap 30 or 40, people are going to have to start making their moves. So it's going to get interesting.
10-4, well, we let you get back to your crew chief. Thanks for talking to us, and we'll hopefully talk to you later on.
Goodbye.
See that pace car now coming down into turn number 3. In fact, a number of these drivers know this place so well, they can probably even point out where they sat in the grandstands for one of the many races they've been to here at the Speedway. And now we've got ourselves, let's say, 16 laps now in the books, working lap number 17. So we're going to go green at the end of lap number 17. Paquin is still your race leader. Barty Linton is in second. Dave Jinks in third. Ryan Norton fourth. Paul Nelson in fifth. But keep an eye out on what Paquin's doing. He's moving himself all the way to the outside wall of the track, because this is a single file restart. Drivers technically can overtake from the outside line. So all of these drivers literally hugging the wall there. You see Ryan Norton almost running over Paul Nelson as they come down towards the start-finish line. This is really going to anger Norton, because he cannot overtake on the left-hand side until they get past the start-finish line, which is now. But Dave Jinks, he was caught napping on that start. I take that back. It was Dave Jinks who was caught napping, and he lost himself about 0.6 of a second before they even came down into turn number 1.
Yeah, that was a critical error. Bad misjudgment in the restart.
And now Norton trying to bump drive. You see, they managed to caught it back up. So crucially, they didn't lose too much time there that they completely lost the draft. But this was the biggest chance that Linton and Paquin have had to try and separate themselves from the rest of the field. If they'd done that, it would pretty much have been game over for those two drivers, you know, out front. They would have had the chance to go for victory and secure themselves a place in ISOWC history, but Dave Jinks has closed that gap back once again. You see Norton looking slightly down to the inside line. Is he going to try and make a move on Dave Jinks as they come back down into turn number 1? And to give you an idea of the time, I mean, last time we talked about how they were slower. I mean, yes, they were slower, but Dave Jinks had the draft. But you would expect Dave Jinks to be a full half a second faster on that restart lap, just for the sheer weight of the draft that these drivers get. Now, interestingly enough, David Ward is currently sat in no man's land. Tony Tinson got himself a good restart and is now in with that lead pack, but David Ward is struggling to keep on to that, and Brad Sanford's a further second and a half behind him on the road. David Ward really is going to fall from one pack to the other really quickly, and if he's not careful, he could fall all the way back to about 14th position as the field just like close up around him.
Yeah, I'm surprised Ryan Norton and Paul Nelson on the screen behind Dave Jinks here. I'm pretty surprised they're fighting each other out as much as they are right now, instead of working it together and trying to get some sort of separation between Linton and Paquin. Because okay, even though you would be just fine with just settling behind them, but if you just start doing that in the wrong time and you get that extra 4 to 5 tenths distance between your cars, it doesn't pay off that kind of sort of silly inner fighting. I think the key issue would be to try to keep up with the leaders instead of trying to fight for P4 and 5, especially since the top 5 has been separated by 0.6 of a second, so it's basically nothing.
Yeah, and I'm keeping an eye on David Ward's time. I mean, that last lap was a 54.713, so he lost some time. This lap, he lost himself a ton of time. He really is now falling back into the clutches of Sanford and Brewer and Goodway. And we haven't talked about Goodway. He's lost himself a ton of position. We're talking about at the start of this race how he, you know, was battling for the top 3 positions. He's now right back in that second pack, down in 10th spot, but he's trying to make him move on Brewer, and they're battling for 9th position. And this is not what these guys are really going to want to be doing, because every time they try and fight for a position, they dirty up the air around him. So trying to go 3 wide into 3 there, you see Goodway able to just slide past. And I think they're Brewer, big crash. That is Brewer and Jean-Marc Bruni there. And we were just talking about how it was a bad corner for Brewer, and it just looked as though, I'm trying to see what happened. He just had to check out the throttle. He decided to go 3 wide, decided against it, got off the gas, and then just closed the door on Jean-Marc Bruni, and it looks as though the two just came together. And to be fair, there was nowhere that Jean-Marc Bruni could go, because he was pretty much all the way down below the white line in the first place. So our third caution of the day.
The replay of that incident in turn 3.
Yeah, watching the replay. And there's nowhere that he could have gone. I mean, he literally did come right. Brewer just came right down on him.
Yeah, that's a sad thing to happen. But yeah, that's. Yeah, I always hate to see that happen. I mean, innocent bypasser just was the one that suffered the most. But yeah, I mean, driver error. But what can you do? I mean, there's so little time to respond to that kind of situation.
And it's almost as though that, say, Brewer decided against making it 3 wide at the very last minute, allowed Goodway to get past, but then he wanted to try and just get back in line as quickly as possible, and there just wasn't the space to do so. And it's almost as though I think he probably tried coming down a bit too much, and that car might have got loose in him, I don't know, but I mean, it's not the sort of thing you expect to see, you know, racecraft-wise from these drivers. And I mean, from out of nowhere, Jean-Marc Bruni has pretty much been chucked out of this race.
Yeah, we're running out of drivers here. Was it like 29 cars that started the race, were 1/3 of the race just a bit more, and only 13 cars remaining.
Down to 13 cars after we've had 2 pretty much big wrecks already. We've had what, 4, 6, 7 cars eliminated. We've got Brewer laps down now, Jean-Marc Bruni laps down, Bellier's lap down, Lambert, we saw a separate incident, he's laps down, as it's Radcliffe's out of the race, Wilson's out of the race, Rene Murray's out of the race, Matt Kennelly out of the race, Brian Stevenson out of the race, Vince Hardy out of the race, and as is Tom Stackers and Istvan Balau, who just pulled that car off track earlier on. But with the way this field is going, I mean, it's really going to be a case of you have to get going on that restart, because otherwise there's not going to be a pack for you to join and being part of.
Interesting. It will be interesting to see in both of these restarts. We've seen somebody from P4 down to P8 make a dramatic mistake last time around. Ryan Norton being the one that suffered the most, being stuck behind. Was it Dave Chinks?
Yeah,
I think it was Dave Chinks. Yeah, I mean, on this type of racetrack, you simply cannot afford that to make that many mistakes. And now they have given 3 get out of jail free cards, and will they keep doing the same mistakes? I'm not sure, but they shouldn't. They really shouldn't, because once these yellow flags start to go out, there's no way you can recover from that.
and of course as we go later on to this race, the left drivers, you know, the risk of a caution flag, that's just going to deteriorate. So, you know, they're going to have to get it going perfectly very soon if they're going to have any chance of even thinking about bringing their car down to victory. But let's talk about Paquin and Linton quickly, because, you know, Paquin is really had the car to beat all day long, and Linton's just done a sterling job of just sitting behind him and just waiting for that opportunity. And you think Linton's just going to wait until the last corner of the last lap to try and make the move?
Most likely so. Well, not necessarily at the last corner of the last lap. I'm pretty sure he has to. Paquin is not slow either, so he has to make the move stick. He has to start making the move at the beginning of the last lap, if not even earlier, because Paquin is surely going to be defending his line. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to leave it to the last 2 laps.
And of course, once again, don't forget the ISOWC Indianapolis 500 takes place tomorrow. Coverage starts at 4 p.m. GMT. That is at noon Eastern. And that will be live here on Glacier TV. Extended coverage available at isowc.org/live. Lights out once again on the pace car. We've done it every portion so far. Why don't we do one more? This is Ryan Norton. He's sat in the 4th position at the minute. And for you guys up front, it seems that, you know, it's pretty sedate, but it looks as though that you lost quite a lot of time in that last restart, which almost cost you the opportunity to close back up to Linton and Paquin.
Yeah, it looked like Dave was a little late on the restart, and I had to check up for him, and that's why you saw us probably bump drafting down the front stretch there. But it's pretty, you got to get back about a second to really lose it. So I don't think we'll have too much issue this one.
And it's been close out front. When do you expect it to really become, you know, aggressive, the drivers starting to really work the different lanes?
Really depends on who's up here, but Bart and John are working together. They're keeping the front stretched out a little bit. It really depends on what they do. If they start racing, it'll get pretty hairy pretty quick.
10-4, we'll let you get back to your crew chief. Have a nice rest of the race. And pace car is in, and are they all going to get going at the same time? Yes, they are this time by, and the green flag is back out in the air here, and it looks as though, guys, we got ourselves a little bit better on the restart, but once again, Jinx caught nothing there, and that allowed Linton and Paquin to pull away just a little bit once again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ryan Norton is not going to be satisfied with this.
Oh,
we got smoke coming up. Yeah, I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that Ryan Norton is not going to be happy with that kind of performance by Dave Jinks. In every single restart, they seem to suffer from Dave Jinks being in sleep or in coma when the green flag flies. So next time we gotta 1 or 2 good green laps, I'm pretty sure Ryan Norton is gonna be looking to pass Dave Jinks no matter what, because then after the next possible caution flies out, he's not gonna have to suffer for Dave Jinks' pole restarts.
And that is Michael Brewer trying to bring his car back out onto the racetrack. No idea what he's doing there, spinning pretty much right in front of the leaders.
Yeah, that was a stupid move. He should be black flag right now, 2 laps down, and it caused an immediate caution period right in front after the previous one. So that's not a good move.
Yeah, and indeed he has been given the black flag from race control, so he will take no more part in the session, even if his car does get sorted out. And that's not one of the things you expect to see in a race like this. You know, Paquin coming down into turn number 2. We'll see if we can get the Glacier TV Super Spoiler on it. But really, I mean, that was not that far away from being a travesty there. When Paquin can see him hitting the wall, and they're all very lucky that he just fell right back down over the racetrack.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and see if I can catch that for the viewers. It was lap 24, was it?
Yeah, it was. I'm sorry, working lap number 24, 25, yes. But that's just, yeah, one of those weird, crazy things. And in some ways, that's going to be a little bit of satisfaction for a couple of these drivers. But we're going to have to go back to the whole Jinks and Norton situation, because they're all bringing their cars all the way up to the wall. Norton can't pass Jinks until they get past the start-finish line. But Jinks' restarts have just been really slow for the last 3-4 restarts now.
Yeah, we're gonna try and get a replay of that the last restart right now. Let's see if it works out. Working a little bit with the telemetry here for some reason. Yep.
And you see that Paquin coming out of turn number 1, the last thing you want to see is a car going sideways right ahead of you. And, I mean, literally he was able to get on the brakes. The caution was out before he knew it, thankfully. But you see the lights already out on the pace car, but Paquin there, I mean, that's bizarre. I mean, was he just trying to get back out onto the track to try and avoid himself staying 2 laps down, or what? I mean, it's a long pace lap here, so he had plenty of time to try and get back out, but not expected, and simply put, not cool.
Yeah, currently watching the slow motion right now, coming out of turn 1 here with John Paquin, and yeah, not the most pleasant view a leader of a super speedway or a fast oval driver would want to see in front of him.
Especially when you've got a number of drivers behind you who could go in one of 3 directions. See the pace car back, going to come in at the end of lap number 27 here. Getting close to half distance, so hopefully the city cautions are going to settle down.
Unless I'm going to need my shotgun again.
Of course. And we'll get John Paquin back on. We're going to step aside for just a moment as we go back to this restart. We're going to give you a chance to experience the sights down here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're going to have 27 laps all complete, which once again that pace car, the iRacing.com pace car, bringing themselves down towards pit road. Paquin immediately back on the gas here. Let's see how the start goes. We'll be back in a matter of moments. Cars come through turn number 4 to put the 28th lap into the books. You see a lot more cars closer to the front as we've seen previously in this race so far. You see Brad Sanford looking down to the inside, of Lewis Goodway, but these two drivers really need to get a hurry on because they could lose the draft to the cars ahead of them. It looks like David Ward just acting like a little bit of a buffer, and you saw it on your screens. Ryan Norton got around Dave Jinks, as did Paul Nelson, to move Dave Jinks all the way back into the 5th position. But this is a lot closer field than we've seen before, and you look at this, you've got the first 6 cars separated by less than 1 second on the racetrack. You see Norton closing right on to the rear now of Marty Linton, looking down to the inside. This is a battle for the 2nd position. Norton having to get out of the throttle just a little bit there, tossing him a little bit, but Nelson and Norton looking down on the inside line. You've got yourself Linton and Paquin. They're looking like they will end up on the outside line as they come down past start-finish way. We're going to be working on lap number 30. And Yoni, this is the kind of restart that we're talking about. But David Ward, once again, just looks as though he's the driver who missed the car.
Yeah, I was just about to say that the top 6 guys are now back in the 6-car pack as they should, but David Ward is the first car who is separated from the top pack. Behind him there's a Brad Sanford 0.4 of a second away, so Brad is going to get the draft from David Ward, and behind Brad he has Lewis Goodway coming pretty strong. So if he's going to push Brad Sanford, it's just a moment of time before they will pretty much outpace David Ward, and remains to be seen whether they're going to stick behind him. As you can see behind the pink car right there, it's just a question of will they assist David, or will they just fly right past him and try to make up ground. But yeah, the top 6 is now pretty heavily packed.
Battle for the 2nd position. This could be the battle for the 1st before we know it. You've got now Ryan Norton down on the inside. He's managed to pass Barty Linton. He will be classified as the 2nd place driver as they come past the yard and breaks him down to the inside. This is the battle for the race lead. Norton on the inside, Paquin on the outside, down into turn number 1. Norton, for the time being at least, is going to take the race lead here at Indiana. And it looks like Paquin on the outside has got a good run in turn number 2. They're coming through it now. Perhaps he can make the move work on the inside, but you see that Norton, he tried cutting it off, didn't quite do that. But when you consider, Paul Nelson, that was just a bit of a kick in the teeth for him. He pushed Norton to the lead, and then Norton almost decided, cheers, I've done what I need to do now. And perhaps that could affect him later on in the race, because you know what, trust is an important thing here, and I don't think if I was in Nelson's car, I would be too happy there with what Norton just did.
Yeah, well, I don't think that was a smartest move to do in the exactly midway point of the race, but still a good run from Ryan Norton. Took out that 3rd position right in the restart, like we said, or as we anticipated, after Dave Jinks' several bad restarts, and now once he got by, he already immediately challenged John Paquin for the lead of the race. So Ryan is looking pretty strong, and if it stays like this, Ryan is actually going to be one of my favorites to win this race. But my least favorite to win this race right now is the John Paquin in the lead, because I seriously doubt that the leader is going to be able to maintain the lead in the end. Yeah,
it's going to be very close to this race progresses, and don't forget, as that happened, this field is all bunched right back up together.
Yeah, I was just about to say that David Ward gathered up that 0.7 of a second, and he actually had a pretty dangerous moment there. You saw the rear view camera of Ryan Norton. David Ward, the pink car, was having a late dive in the turn 3 and almost made it into a crash. I'm not sure if I saw a puff of smoke there, but that was a pretty close situation into turn 3, but everyone survived so far.
Just for the moment, at least. And I say it's Paquin in leader, Barty Linton in 2nd, Norton in 3rd, ever looking strong. You see there, he's trying to go to the outside now. He's got another tactic and it's working. And you see that now, Paquin moving down to protect his running buddy of Barty Linton. So Norton there, now on the outside, has no one to help him, and he's going to drop back behind Paul Nelson. So the last time around, Nelson wanted to help him, and blew him off. This time, Nelson's like, I'm not doing that again. And Norton is now all the way back into 5th, and he's on the outside line by himself. All the drivers come up on the straightaways, but Norton looks like he'll probably settle down into about 4th position, unless these guys really do a fast turn 1 and 2. You see Jinx goes past. This will be for 4th position, move Norton back into 5th, and then it'll be a case of can David Ward try and make the move as they come down into turn number 2.
Yeah, and currently we have 4th and 5th. The only car that Ryan Norton surely does not want to stick behind him, as in Dave Jinks. The 76 car is right in front of Ryan Norton. He's not going to be happy with this situation here. Dave, in the 2 restarts in succession, has been the reason for Ryan Norton to lose the lead battle, or lose the distance to the lead battle. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be wanting to do whatever it takes to not be behind him.
And you see that, oh, Brad Sanford and Lewis Goodway so close there. Goodway literally just almost touching the wall again here. Goodway second, third time, Brad Sanford into the wall and front straight away. And Sanford's day is going to be done. A huge impact from Lewis Goodway. And I have to say, that was very bad driving there by Goodway coming off the wall. And he just kept on moving that car to the left.
Yeah, that almost looked like he was accidentally being pushed, and that looked like a rookie. Hey, if you're gonna push me, I'm gonna push you right back. And he just did what it looked to me like as well that he just did whatever he can to just try to wreck that car off. Not the best driving I've seen, that's for sure.
And I'm sure there'll be some very, very terse words we'll hear from later on, as Goodway has lost the draft now. Sanford had managed to work his way back to the field. We'll try and get a replay at some point, but it just looked as though, I'm having a look at it again, that the cut, Goodway just decided to move left and left and left, and in the end, Sanford just steering, just broken him, and he just got speared into the inside retaining wall. Meanwhile, we'll go back to the front of the action momentarily, and it is still Paquin leading the way. Linton in second, Nelson third, Jinx in fourth, and Dave Jinks in the 5th position, and Ryan Norton in 6th now, Tim Tinson 7th, and Lewis Goodway in the 8th spot.
Yeah, so far John Paquin has he has a few laps now to try to get into proper rhythm and try to work that drafting partner thing again. But as long as there's 7 cars in the pack, I'm pretty sure nobody can get themselves too comfortable with this situation.
Yeah, completely indeed. And we've seen a different style of racing here. One of the things that's important is that these cars, if they have the ideal line, they can come down to the line on the corners and come up to the wall on the straightaways, and that's the fastest way around the racetrack here today. However, the cars who are, on the outside lane, they can gain an advantage on the straightaways because everyone else is coming up, and that will come into play later on in this race, especially in those last couple of laps. Where do people go? And that's one thing that we're really going to have to be careful looking at towards the latter stage of this race. But those front 6-7 cars, they're pretty evenly matched for the time being.
Yeah, definitely seems to be the case, and we're getting close to the last 20 laps of this race, and like was it Ryan Norton said in the live race interview that the last 20 laps, when we get to lap 40, that's when people start to make their deciding maneuvers on this race, and we've seen quite a bit of deciding maneuvers already, since we only have half the started cars remaining on the field.
But we still have ourselves an interesting battle up front. And we said, for those of you who are just joining us here today, we've had ourselves 2 big moments on the track. So we had a 6-car pile-up on the second restart. That's what lost us 6 drivers. And then we had ourselves another 3-car pile-up about 7-8 laps later from that, which has eliminated more drivers. So we're left with just now 9 cars on the lead lap. Robert Coe is the last driver on the lead lap, who's circulating about 1.5 seconds off the pace for the time being. A couple of drivers trying to get back onto the racetrack. Brad Sanford, he's just trying to allot himself a couple of laps. But it looks as though that damage to Lewis Goodway has put him out of the race. We'll take ourselves back up front momentarily though, and it looks as though that move that Morton made trying on the outside really cost him about 4 or 5 positions. But now he's looking down to the inside of David Ward. He's going to try and pick him off one at a time, I'm guessing. David Ward probably just let him pass. He does just let him pass there. Down into turn number 3 even. But now he's back behind Dave Jinks, and this is going to be a battle for the 4th position. And then Paulie Nelson, he's kind of the wild card right now. We've not said or really heard anything from him at all. Norton really is on the charts, but that outside line with the graph is just so dominant. But it almost looks as though Jinx is just giving them the pass there.
Yeah, and if you look at the lap counter, it's lap 40 out of lap 60, right as he said, and last 20 laps in the books, and if it stays green, this is the time to start making moves.
And for Dave Jinx, if he was just trying to let a teammate pass,
he's on a run right here.
Yeah, but for Dave Jinx, if he's trying to find a way, to get past Dave Jinx, and you know, Jinx lost himself potentially at 2 spots there because he's going to be on the outside line once getting to turn number 3. So I mean, Jinx has lost out in the manoeuvre, but at the same time, Norton now up into 3rd position once again, and this is where we were about 15 laps ago, looking down to the inside of Barty Linton. He's going to find it tough to go down that inside line. You say he's going to have to make the move at the last second. He tried it too early that time. That's going to allow Linton at least another corner of breathing space. He's just tucking out a little bit too early. He needs to time it right so that you just dive down to the inside perhaps 20 feet before the corner and try and slide underneath them. This way, if he has help now, perhaps he can find a way past. But it doesn't look as though there's many drivers. David Moore is on the inside line with him, trying to push Norton as he now tucks back in. Terry Matinson, though, they're going to be almost 3 wide going into turn number 3 behind him. Matinson, Jinx, and Nelson getting very racy. Nelson's been shuffled back now, all the way back down into the 7th position. I have to talk about Paul Jenkins. He's lost the draft, and he's now down in the 8th or 18 seconds behind the race lead. But once again, we've got ourselves slow traffic is going to come into play at about a lap's time as Paquin is coming up to put a lap. I believe that is on Robert Curry in the number 98 car.
Yeah, looking at recent gains in laps positions, Ryan Norton 3 positions.
He's down to the inside.
1.5 laps.
He's down to the inside. He's going to clear perhaps Barty Linton. He's going to try and see. This is going to be crazy. We've got ourselves Paquin. This is going to be very crazy. He's going to be 3 wide going down into turn number 3. They're all trying to get past the lap traffic, and Norton is going to use this to his advantage to try and get the race lead here. And in fact, he's going to clear Paquin as they come into turn number 3. So for the first time all race long, it looks like Paquin might not lead the lap, but we see the huge straight line advantage that number 71 car has. It's going to be a drag race to the start-finish line. The gap's going to be less than a 10th of a second. Does Paquin lead the lap? It's so close. But Norton leads it.
No, he doesn't. Ryan Norton leads. And just about to say that this time Ryan Norton did not make that foolish mistake of trying on the outside line and being left all by himself. Now he chose the inside line, which was slower, but David Ward actually gave him a better push than Bart Elin managed to push Paquin coming in the last back straightaway. And if we see the difference in the straight end at the end of the straight lines, Ryan Norton just had several miles per hour more straight line speed, so was able to complete that pass. And now David Ward is actually pushing himself into 2nd position here.
Yeah, it's going to be close. They come past the yard, but once again, Paquin is still on that outside line. He's got Barty Linton pushing him. If both of these drivers can get clear, this is when it's going to get really interesting. But you see, Paquin is on the outside line with Linton. Norton leads that lap this time. He gained about 42 1,000th of a second. So they're coming down into turn number 1 again. It looks as though Ward is going to get very close to being clear here as they come into 2. If he can sweep underneath him, they're both just going to be able to go underneath. And now Terry Matinson is going to be the driver to try and get past as well. Paquin looks at the back all of a sudden, and the complete landscape of this race is all of a sudden just changed.
Yeah, and David Ward has to be very cautious behind Ryan Norton. Actually, David Ward has a bent front wing. Looks at the TV camera at least. Not sure if that's a lag issue, but in my screen, David Ward has a bent front wing. I'm not sure if that was from that very close pushing of Ryan Norton in that last time around in the back straightaway. But in my screen, the left edge of David Ward's front wing is slightly bent. So not sure if that affects anything on anybody, but. I was just about to say that David Ward does have to be very careful not to wreck his front nose cone.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, these cars, you know, they claim they have too much downforce as it is on these things, so perhaps he'll come into pit road and tell him to just chuck it away for all he knows. But you see, look how close he is. Coming down the back straightaway. Norton's on the defensive here, running right down the centre of the racetrack, not letting anyone go all the way down too low or too high. So defensive driving by Norton, as we'll come across the line this time by with 15 laps left to go. It is currently Norton from Ward with Mattinson in third. Dave Jinks, he's trying to take fourth position away. Payton's still holding that outside line. He's been there religiously for the last 5 laps or so. It looks as though he will still get that bump, and Dave Jinks does in fact take fourth position away, but this is not over with 15 laps to go.
It surely is not over, and anybody from this top 6, top 7 has an equal chance to win this race, and Paul Nelson is pretty much looking like having the shortest stick right now, but all it takes is a slight crash, spin, push, wrong line change, etc., and everything goes well for Paul Nelson, and he has a chance. He has all the chances in the world of gaining 3 to 4 positions in one lap, like we saw Ryan Norton did last time around. As I was just about to say, he gained 3 positions in 1.5 laps, whereas Dave Jinks was the one losing 4 places in 1.5 laps. I think he's gonna crash in the front straight away.
And we have indeed, and it's the one we were talking about, is Dave Jinks there in the number 76 machine coming out of turn 4, and it was Barty Linton. It just looked as though Dave Jinks came across. Once again, it's pretty much a repeat performance of what we saw with Sanford earlier on in this race, and we're going to have to reset it. It's going to be about 10 laps to go, but this field really has dried up here now, and a huge shame because we were on for an interesting finish to this race, and now cars were bent lap all over the place, and things really are going to get brutal in these last 10 laps. At this time, I would like to bring in Brad Sanford into the booth, and Brad, that incident a little bit earlier on, it really did look as though that the number 74 car just came down on you.
Yes. Several times he went completely high against the wall, put his car where it did not belong, and literally hit my tires 3 times before that.
And was it just the fact that the steering just decided to stop working on it? What happened to the car?
The third time he tried to come down, with my triple monitor setup, there's incidences before where he would do the fake block, try to swerve down into someone's lane, and I would just hold my line knowing there would be no contact. And he decided to create contact this time, and did it 3 times, and the last time our wheels locked and it ripped off the right front tire.
10-4, and I know it's hugely disappointing to be involved in a big moment like that, especially in the first race of the Road to Indy Series. Until that point, it looked as though that you were able to, get some good speed, but it was difficult for you to stay with that first pack.
Yeah, it was difficult to stay with the first pack, mostly due to the single file restarts. If the cars in front of you don't get up to speed in time, you're not going to get up to speed in time, especially worrying about getting a black flag before you cross the start-finish line. As you can see, we did catch up to them.
You did, and that was interesting towards the end of that race. And as I said, we are still green here today. We didn't get that caution, so we are still...
Caution is going to be out. David is in the wall.
Well, maybe not. He's just touches it there. We'll see
No, don't go back to the racetrack. Oh, God, get out of there. Go.
He does get back onto the track, so we are going to stay green. David Ward there, when this is really, and this is David Norton trying to push himself, push Norton back to the lead, just getting that car snapped loose there, and that number 2 car, he's going to have a little bit of damage. He's bringing it down into pit road. It looks like his day is going to be done, but he's going to be hugely disappointed with that, because he really was within a shot of the top 3 position.
If you let me interject for a second, I will say that he did exactly what he told us not to do. He was telling us on TeamSpeak, do not bump draft in the corners. It will cause the car in the back to snap loose.
And indeed, that's what happened to David Ward. So his race is done. And this time by, we are entering the closing stages of this race now. Ryan Norton is your
only
race
5
leader.
cars on track.
Yep, Ryan Norton is your race leader. And we've got to say, Terry Tinson is second, having a look through the field. And there's a couple of drivers, you know, who still got a shot winning this one. In fact, anyone in this lead pack still has a chance, to be fair. But it's Norton with Mattinson, Paul Nelson in third, and Paquin in fourth. And really, it's going to be a case of now, who's going to work with who? Are they all going to try and gang up and not let Paquin get a shoe in? Or is one of them going to take the plunge and think, well, if we can get past, I'll get second position?
Yeah, I'm not sure of anything anymore. What's going to happen in last 10 laps remaining, and 29 cars started this race. It's an insane race been so far, and luckily we stayed green, and now only 4 cars remaining. But things are not going, despite cars dropping out of the race, it's not going any more boring. It's actually going way more intense, as Ryan Norton is struggling to keep his lead right now. Terry Mattinson is all over him.
As you see there, that Norton was pretty much all the way down to the inside wall, coming down the front straightaway, trying to block anyone from trying to make a move down to the inside. Now we'll see as they come down the back straightaway, are they going to try the low approach or are they going to try and go high? You see that Mattinson trying to look down to the inside line. Didn't quite work for him there, didn't get the push he needed. Paquin though just sat there in the middle of the racetrack. He's not committing to anything right now. So is Paquin perhaps just trying to figure out where these drives are going to go? What's going to happen? We have no idea, but it is Norton from Mattinson, from Nelson, from Paquin, and then Paul Jenkins in the 5th position. And if we're not careful, guys, we could end up with no one finishing this race, because there's been some crazy stuff that's been here today, and I'm sure that the race director is going to take a look at the whole bump drafting thing that's been going on at this track.
Yeah, I have to say, pump drafting is not something you do with a car with front wings, and these several guys have been doing it, and car contact has been seen, not something you should do in open wheelers in any track, not to mention super speedways. And yeah, I have to say that one of the weirdest open wheel races on the fast speedways I've seen, but still good racing and unfortunate crashes. There wasn't like a huge crash that took out half the field. There's been like 2 cars, 3 cars, etc., and slowly decreasing the amount of cars on the field.
Oh, if you don't mind me saying something in regards to the bump drafting, to be fast in this car, you have to do that.
But I'm sure, I mean, for the next race, the next speedway race, because of course we go to a couple of tracks with high banks and long straightaways, that it might be looked at a little bit careful. I mean, you see the bump drafting continues once again. You see Paquin play on the outside line. He's trying to make that move. He can pull up to the outside of Paul Nelson until he just gets into that air of nothingness. And it's interesting that he's not really been riding the draft with these other drivers. And I mean, you've got Norton still leading this race. You've got Terry Mattinson all over the back of Norton. Could you perhaps suggest, you see there, Nelson now, he's looking to the outside line. He's figured out, well, why not go for it? We've got ourselves pretty much 6 laps to go. Let's see if we can get something done. And it looks as though, though, that Nelson just didn't have the chance to make too much happen there. Now, Paquin's looking to the outside as they come down into turn number 2. And it looks as though that everyone's just jostling for position here, and no one wants to let anyone have the inside line. But we saw earlier that the outside line can be just as fast as that of the inside.
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody is trying the outside line maneuvers right now, because if you try the outside line right now, 6 laps to go, if that fails, you're gonna drop all the way down to 4th. Oh my God! But you're still in the leading pack, so you still have all the chances in the world to get back up to the lead. But you have to start experimenting right now. You cannot leave it to the last lap.
And you see that Paquin pushing Nelson down past the yard of bricks with 5 laps left to go. Paquin now, perhaps is he going to try and go down to the inside? He's getting a little bit of a wiggle there as they go down to turn number 1. Paquin looking frustrated in that 71 car as they come into turn number 2. And it looks like he tried to find a way to split Nelson and Mattinson and go down the middle. That didn't work, and now perhaps could Paquin have blown his opportunity to find a running buddy. So, as we saw earlier on, as we're going to cross the line with 4 laps left to go this time by, we saw that Paquin perhaps as he lost the chance to get a running buddy now.
Yeah, Paquin, for some reason, every time he gets a good run, he just chooses the maximum, the furthest line on the outside all by himself, drops right back and tries to, like we're seeing right now, he gets a huge run on right now, Paul A. Nelson gets right behind him and just sticks to him. He could have had a chance right there to dive on the inside and get a draft from Terry Matthewson's car as well. Now he's in the inside line, but I'm surprised he left it that late.
Indeed, he's found his way past Paul Nelson, perhaps though, if he can encourage Nelson to try and come up with him. We've seen how good Paquin's been as the pushy, shall we say, as we're going to come down. We've got ourselves 3.5 laps left to go here. The gap between these 4 drivers has been less than 3 tenths of a second for the past 10 laps pretty much. You've got yourself Norton out front, Mattinson in second, Nelson in third, Paquin in third, Nelson in fourth. They'll come past the yard of bricks this time by with 3 laps left to go. Paquin looking to the outside once again. He's going to be side by side of Mattinson. He's going to get second place, not quite close enough. But guys, this is starting to heat up here. The top 3 drivers separated by less than 1/10 of a second. They come down into turn number 1. So close there between Paquin and Mattinson as they come down into turn number 2. And it looks as though Nelson is back down to the inside line.
Yeah, it seems weird that the P3 and P4 cars are not working together. I mean, they cannot get all by themselves past 2 cars that are bump drafting each other. They have to cooperate if they want to get over to, if they want to get by these guys, because they're not leaving a gap open on the inside.
So come down out of turn number 4 again. We've got ourselves 5 miles left of racing here in the ISOWC Unity 150. Don't forget, the ISOWC Indianapolis 500 takes place tomorrow. Coverage starts at 4 p.m. GMT as Paquin once again looking to the outside line here today in the StarMazdas in the Unity 150. It has been a race of interesting proportions. Drivers involved in numerous wrecks. We've been green now for pretty much the past 30 laps or so, but in the process lost more cars along the way. Really down now to just a 4-car breakaway towards the end of this race, and still heating up with 1.5 laps left to go. Will Mattinson just try and make a move in the last lap as he lulled Norton into a false sense of security? Will Nelson and Paquin try and make a move in the last lap? What's going to happen? We're going to find out, because as the cars come through turn number 4, this time by, the white flags in hand, we've got ourselves 1 lap to figure it all out here at Indy.
Yeah, and it looks like, let's see if Terry Matthewson is going to have a run. Not going to be a late entry into turn 1, no. But he surely has something in his pocket.
And through turn number 1, they've got themselves 3 corners left to go. Mattinson, will he make a move on the outside? Will they all follow him? If they do, they're going to come down the back straight away. Mattinson, dummying to the left, dummying to the right. Will he try and make the move? You see that Paquin making the move now on Paul Nelson. They're going to come down into turn number 3 and 4 for the final time. Norton's starting to move up to the racetrack. And you see there, Paquin's on the outside line. Will Mattinson try and make a move? He's going to do so. He's going to have to do it now. And as they come through turn number 4 for the final time, it's still Norton from Mattinson, from Nelson, from Paquin. Are they just going to bring it home single file? Or is anyone going to try and do anything? They're going to get very close. But it looks like Norton is going to win here at Indy. Guys, it almost kind of was the drama. We didn't get the drama expected there at the end. It all seemed a little bit too subdued.
Yeah, it almost looks like everyone just ran out of methods. I mean, if there had been 2 more cars giving a more push on the outside line and the inside line, maybe we could have seen completely different pile, but since there was two packs going on, and there was like an inner pack battle going on at the same time, that pretty much nullified the last lap.
Yeah,
Still,
it's really
still
hard.
a good race.
It's really hard to get that pass completed because by the time you hit, not even, I'd say halfway to the start-finish line, you're already hitting the rev limiter in 6th gear. There's no other room left in the gearing. If there was a taller gear, I think you would have been able to see more passes completed going into 1 with that group of 4 cars right there.
I'm not completely sure if the telemetry has been screwed by that Paquin-Nelson finish, because it currently shows to me that Paquin is in P3, but at the same time it's showing 18 thousandths of a second behind Paul Nelson, so I'm not quite sure what the official result is.
We're going to get confirmation in just a matter of seconds, but it was very close between them, but in fact it was Nelson who did take 3rd position. We just got ourselves a quick look at the start finish line, and Nelson did just manage to take it away there in the, well, keep that position there. Perhaps if it had been another, 100 yards, Paquin would have got his way past, but Nelson does take 3rd position here today. We have been on air for far too long today, so we're going to be very quick with this bit. It is Ryan Norton, your race winner here today, with Terry Tinton in the 2nd position, Paul Nelson in 3rd, with John Paquin in 4th, Paul Jenkins in 5th, David Ward in 6th, Dave Jinks in 7th, Bart E. Linton in 8th, Robert Curry 9th, and Lewis Goodway in the 10th spot. Brad Sanford in 11th, Dennis Garris in 12th, Fred Turley in the 13th position, Michael Brewer in 14th, Jean-Marc Bruni in 15th, Jordan Bulliers in 16th, Philippe Lambert in 17th, David Radcliffe 18th, Anna Wilson 19th, and in the 20th position is Renee Murray. What we're going to do is we've been on air for far too long today. We will talk about the rest of this race. We're going to get ourselves our post-race interviews tomorrow in the build-up for the ISOWC Indianapolis 500 supporting the Lance Armstrong Foundation. We've got ourselves a nice half-hour preview show for that race taking place tomorrow, and it really will prove to be one of the most realistic and accurate sim racing Indy 500s, and all of iRacing will be there, say, from 4 p.m. GMT. That is noon Eastern tomorrow here on Glacier TV. Meanwhile, from ourselves, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye!